Between April of 1926 and May of 1927, Tampa, Florida was the site of 10 tragic murders. On April 28, 1926, the Tampa police responded to a distress call at 508 Nebraska Avenue. Witnesses reported Charles Manuel, a newspaper vendor, was assaulting a woman. Upon arrival, they found the decapitated body of Emma Hillard, with Manuel, intoxicated, clutching a jackknife. Despite Hillard's marital status, Manuel asserted that she was his girlfriend. Hillard had a colorful romantic history, including an ex-husband named Benjamin Levins. Manuel was promptly apprehended. In July, he confessed despite lacking memory of the crime, attributing it to his inebriation and trusting eyewitnesses' accounts of the incident. On June 28, 1926, a gruesome discovery was made at 116 South Nebraska Avenue. 3 members of the Rowell family and their tenant, mechanic Charles Alexander, had been brutally murdered with an axe. The bodies were found following a neighbor's concern about the unusual lack of activity in the house that morning. Shortly after the murders, rumors circulated that B. Rowell, the family's 45-year-old patriarch, had been vocal in Tampa, asserting Manuel's innocence in Emma Hillard's killing and claiming to know the true culprit. Despite questioning several suspects, no charges were filed. This turn of events prompted a re-examination of the Hillard case, revealing that the witnesses who had identified Manuel as the attacker were unreliable, yet concrete evidence to exonerate him was still elusive. On May 27, 1927, a tragic scene unfolded at the corner of 1st Avenue and 31st Street, when 5 members of the Merrill family, including 5-week-old baby Lester Merrill, were discovered dead in their home. The grim find was made by 15-year-old Kenneth Merrill, returning from a night out with friends in St. Petersburg. Inside, his 8-year-old brother Hugh was found unharmed. However, their 3-year-old brother, Buddy Merrill, had been killed in the same room as Hugh, who had fortunately fallen under his bed and escaped the killer's notice. During the investigation, an unusual hammer, identified as a railroad spike driver, was discovered in the front bedroom, suggesting the perpetrator may have been a railroad worker. Around 4:30 that morning, a passing woman observed a man walking along the street and stopping in front of the Merrill home. Investigators initially suspected this man to be the killer, but he turned out to be a workman seeking the residence of a friend who was to give him a ride to work. He quickly located his friend's house after his brief stop. The following day, 2 men approached a local fortune teller, Miss Lizelle Banta, inquiring if they would get into trouble about this Merrill mess. Initially dismissing their questions as frivolous, something she often encountered, Miss Banta grew suspicious and reported the incident to the police. The day following the Merrill family tragedy, Lieutenant D.Z. Meeks of the Tampa Police made a significant discovery at a lumber yard half a mile from the Merrill residence. Amongst the stack of lumber, Meeks stumbled upon a newspaper detailing the Merrill family murders, carefully laid out on the ground alongside bread loaf scraps and a few hand-rolled cigarette butts, suggesting someone had been bedding down at the site. Nearby, 3 broken matches were found, mirroring those discovered at the Merrill home. Meeks and his team staked out the lumber yard, leading to the apprehension of a man found sleeping there shortly after midnight. Identified as B.F. Levins, aged 38, the man claimed various occupations including fisherman, laborer, and itinerant worker. Born in a small settlement named Bullfrog on the edge of the Everglades, Levin had been residing in Tampa for 5 or 6 years. During custody, Levins replicated the act of breaking a match like those found at the crime scene, and his boot print matched one found at the Merrill home. However, he maintained his innocence, alleging his involvement was limited to being present at the Merrill home that night, accompanied by a friend named Leonard Thompson, whom he accused of being the actual perpetrator. According to Levins, while drinking together, Thompson expressed grievances against Merrill, declaring his intent to seek revenge that very night. The pair walked up the railroad tracks to the Merrill home, where Levins claimed to have remained outside while Thompson entered the house. Upon hearing commotion from within, Levins lit a match near the back door and caught a glimpse of the gruesome scene before swiftly departing. The following day, Thompson purportedly escorted Levins to Miss Banta's tent. Leonard Thompson was apprehended from his boarding house, located at the intersection of 7th Avenue and 31st Street. While admitting to having drinks with Levins, he asserted that he returned to his boarding house and retired to bed by 9:30 p.m. Thompson professed ignorance regarding the Merrill murders until Levins suggested visiting Miss Banta. Further investigation revealed that the Merrill home had previously been occupied by the Riles family. 2 months prior, during the Riles tenure, an intruder had broken in but fled upon being startled, leaving behind a railroad mall. Mr. Riles, having previously cooperated with the police regarding the Rowell murders, felt his family was endangered and relocated to the countryside. The Merrill family had resided in the home for only 6 weeks. Investigators theorized that Levins may have been the intruder, and upon returning to the home, mistakenly targeted the Merrills, believing them to be the Riles. After 3 viewings of the Merrill family's bodies at the morgue, Levins confessed to the crime, acknowledging his error in targeting the wrong family. He claimed to have realized his mistake upon reading the newspaper the following day. As word spread of Levins' admissions, outraged crowds converged in the county jail demanding access to the prisoner. In response, Sheriff Hires summoned state troops with the 116th Field Artillery of the National Guard under the command of Colonel S. Lowray, encircling the jail with machine guns and fortifying it with sandbags. The situation escalated when, on May 29, 1927, a mob of well over 1,500 individuals stormed the jail. Troops were compelled to open fire, resulting in 12 injuries. Despite efforts to regain control, the crowd attempted another assault on the jail 2 hours later, prompting a second round of gunfire from the troops. In the ensuing chaos, 5 individuals lost their lives and 27 sustained injuries. 3 days later, Levins was transferred to a jail in Orlando, where he confessed to the Rowell murders. He claimed that a dispute with their tenant over a romantic interest escalated into violence, leading him to eliminate the entire family to prevent identification. Levins faced trial in Orlando throughout July of 1927. During proceedings, the defense asserted that the police had coerced him, alleging repeated threats that he must confess to the Merrill murders while in Orlando or face extradition back to Tampa. Despite these claims, Levins was found guilty of the Merrill family murders. 3 weeks later, in a separate trial, Thompson was acquitted of all charges. Levins received a death sentence for his crimes. On November 22, 1927, at 1:45 p.m., Levins met his end in the electric chair at the Florida State Prison in Rayford. The day before, efforts were made to halt the execution, but despite being unwell at home, Judge Robles communicated via telephone that no stay would be granted. That evening, Levins maintained his innocence, but expressed confidence in finding solace up there. The execution's witnesses included 2 ministers from Tampa, the chief county traffic officer, a bailiff of the criminal court, the county jailer, a deputy sheriff, and a reporter from the Tampa Tribune. Governor Martin extended a 3-hour reprieve. Levins spent his final hours in prayer, steadfastly declaring his innocence, but he made no formal final statement before his death. With no one to claim his body, Levins was laid to rest in the prison cemetery. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button to join our community. We upload every Monday and Thursday at 4 p.m. For more content like this, be sure to check out our other videos on the channel. You can also follow us on our other social media platforms for uploads and updates. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.